Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to the plant room. So first and foremost, I want to thank everybody in the community. We've hit that 1,000 and I couldn't be more ecstatic about that. And it's all thanks to you guys. So today we're going to do a little quick chat repot with this little guy right here. This is my ponytail palm, and he's really not a palm. So if you like this type of content, stick around. Alright guys, as I mentioned in the intro, we're going to do a real quick repot on this guy. Yesterday as I was watering the plants, I realized that this guy is actually outgrowing the pot that he's in. I think he's in a 4-inch container, and when I watered them yesterday, I just so happened, I usually don't take them out, but I just so happened to pick them up. And as you can see, he's twirling roots. And they're actually coming out the pot now. Now, what makes this one interesting is that I bought it as a wee pup. It was very small, but it had several bulbs in the pot. And I don't know if he's going to be able to focus on that. But as you can see, there's like 5 little stumps in there. So my goal today is not to separate those stumps, but to give it a bigger home since spring is coming around so he can continue to grow. At some point, I guess I will have to divide this plant up, but it's not my intention today. So let's go ahead on and get started. I have 2 choices of pots that I've picked here. I think the square one is a 6-inch, which is the one I would really want because it would fit back where he lives. But in all reality, if I'm true to myself, I think the 8-inch would be better. So if we do a size test, just picking up the plant and sticking it in the pot, this gives me a little less than 1 inch all the way around, while this one will give me the 2 inches all the way around, plus a little bit of mass at the bottom. So I think we're going to go with the 8-inch pot instead of the 6. I think it'll give him a better chance to grow. I'm going to add a little bit of the soil at the bottom before I even start pulling him out of this pot. And the mix that I'm using today is a little bit of my own mix, but I also added some cactus soil mix, and I amended both of those with a little bit more perlite and some charcoal just to make it a little bit more airy, because these plants are kind of succulent like, and they don't really like to stay wet. They want something that is going to drain freely, and they tend to store water. Well, let me go ahead and pull him out and maybe we can see better what I'm talking about. It's even if I can get him out of here, because that feels very tight. Okay, he's trying. We may lose a few roots in the process, and we did. Okay, what I was trying to tell you guys is if you look down here, these plants, although we call them ponytail palms, they're really not palm trees at all. I have a couple of notes here that I'm going to reference. They're actually part of the succulent family, and these bulbs here are where they store water. That's why they get the nickname of elephant foot, because they store water in these tubers, or I guess they could be tubers. And this one seems to be very happy because it's pretty prolific. There's 2 new shoots coming out. This one right here and another on this side. So it's really time to give this guy a little bit more room for him to grow. And that's what we're going to do today. So I think this pot is absolutely perfect for it. I think that this plant is really a beginner-friendly plant. The only thing that you would have to be concerned about is your watering habits. Just remember that these plants don't like to, I think I want to lift it up just a little higher so it sits maybe right about there. So we're going to add a little bit more to the bottom. They don't like to remain wet. They want something that's going to drain. And because they store water in those bulbs, we don't really need to water them that frequently. And they're also very drought tolerant. and forgiving. What you'll notice is if you don't water, I guess what I'm trying to say is depending on the frequency of your waterings and the humidity that is in the environment, you might get some brown tips. Now, the brown tips can be a result of a couple of different things. It could be related to how frequently you water her. Is she underwatered? Or it could be a humidity issue. So brown tips are very common with this plant, and what I suggest is if you don't like them, just snip them off, which is what I do. You'll see that there's a bunch of little points where I've snipped off the brown tip because I don't like the way it actually looks. As far as the lighting for this guy, you'd be surprised. I think they can tolerate direct sun considering where they come from. They're found in like Mexico and in those hot regions. But this particular plant lives on this plant shelf in this corner right here. But now that he's getting upsized, he may not live there anymore. I may have to find another spot for him. But as far as lighting, I think bright and direct light would do them well. They probably would do well outside too. If you're going to put them in full sun, I would suggest that you acclimate them little by little. So, you know, maybe 30 minutes a day in the sun and then pull them back in and little by little until he gets used to that. And then you could probably acclimate him to getting that direct sunlight. We've talked a little bit about the watering on this. Let's talk about temperature. Considering that this comes from someplace that we all know to be very hot, I think these plants do well in our environment. There's no need to provide them or supplement them with any additional humidity or anything of that nature. If you're comfortable, I'm sure it will be comfortable. I think it's going to be really happy in this pot. We talked about the soil. Now let's talk about pests a little bit. So I've been fortunate not to have any pests on this plant as of yet. You know, that can change in a heartbeat depending on what you do or what you bring into the home. Or now that the seasons are changing, you know, pets can become rampant. But they're prone to everything that we know. Spider mites, mealybugs, all those lovely little critters that we love to hate. So, you know, I don't inspect my plants every day, but I do try to do a cursory glance when I water. So being vigilant and proactive will prevent those type of things. I try, and I say this loosely, to use a pest prevention like an anticidal soap, homemade, every once in a while, at least once a month. But sometimes that doesn't happen, so I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that I do all of these plants once a month. That's absolutely not true. I might do a portion of them once a month, but they don't all get it once a month. Let's see. I had some other things. Okay, yeah, right. Division. We talked about that a little bit. Now, when I showed you the plant originally before we put her in this pot, the way to propagate it would be to separate the bulbs. So, you know, had that been my intention in the beginning, I could have separated the pups or even the other bulbs and made additional plants. Not my goal, and for me, I don't really need an additional plant. I just want this one to grow to be big, healthy, and happy. Fertilization. Now, if you look online, they'll tell you that you should fertilize this plant during the growing season, perhaps once to every 2 weeks. You guys, the ones that have been on this channel, know that I like to fertilize with every watering. So I fertilize weekly, which means a lower dosage every week with every watering. And the plants seem to be happy with that. All right. Told you guys this was going to be a quick one. Got a few other things to do, but we're going to come back with some repotting because I've got several plants in the room that actually need to be updated. And there's one that I'm going to show you that is actually neglect on my part, so shame on me. But this is what she's looking like right now. I didn't bury. I don't know if he'll be able to see that. Let me see if I can lift up her fronds. Can you see the inside of that? I didn't bury the bulbs. You want to leave those bulbs above the soil line. When I watered her yesterday, but because I added dry soil, I'm going to water her a little bit more just so that the dry soil doesn't soak the moisture away from that root ball and she can stay consistently moist. I did give her a little trim prior to coming online with you guys. So I think she's fine. I'm not going to trim off any of her edges. They suggest, you know, just for aesthetic reasons, when you trim to not, I'm going to show you. So like, I don't know if he'll see this, but like that little branch right there, rather than cut straight across, they say you should cut at a point because it's aesthetically more pleasing. I guess you could do that if you've got time on your hands. But me, I just snip those little points away because I don't like the way the dry tips look on her. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. This is my baby, the Ponytail Pom. I'm going to try to find the image of her when I first got her so you guys can see it. Other than that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with a friend. Talk to you guys real soon. Bye.